I'm not sure. Okay, now it's recording. So back to where we were. Diversity is basically acknowledging that there are people with identity-based differences from ourselves, especially in communities where people are belonging to minority communities, for example, specific categories in the sexual orientation groups or specific ethnicities, for example, African Americans in a white dominant organization or a white dominant nation, or even where someone is in minority and they are being discriminated because of certain reasons, because of certain identity that they have. In that case, we have to be particularly very cautious that people are not neglected, sidelined in any organization or in any team just because of their identity differences. Now, in India, we have abundant examples of such kind of diversity where diversity is not acknowledged. Anyone wants to share if they have come across any situations in which a person who may not be belonging to the majority or who might be different in some manner, they were discriminated against, or they themselves were in the position in which they were at the receiving end? Has anyone of you ever encountered any specific situation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, where I live usually, there are very less number of the Sikh peoples.
Okay.
Means they are minority here,
Hmm.
not seen at all. So there is one of a Sikh means family. I don't know the family of him, but one person, and he's just means inside he's just selling the locks and keys.
Okay.
Usually I don't know, but in this reason, the Sikhs who we find, they are usually the sellers of the locks and keys. Don't know why. So one of that, we want one of the locks, so just we went and asked for him. So he just means, we lost our key of a car, so he just come with us and make the arrangement and all these things. After that, my father asked that, just as means normal talk, how much you earn from this, means why not in shop, or you can just then he said that no one believe us in this reason, and from where we came, there nothing left with us at
Right.
all. So here we just came here, and I found this is the most means uh, affordable thing that I can do. He even can't sell the fruits and the vegetables. That much money he didn't have. I don't know how, but how he get the logs? Maybe he bought it from where he came. So this is the thing that here the Sikh peoples are discriminated usually.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So that is, thank you, Vishal, for the example. So that is one of the instances in which a recognized identity-based difference is not acknowledged. And this is in our society, but when we talk about workplaces, when we talk about organizations, be it academic organizations or industrial organizations, not recognizing diversity can actually play a very detrimental role in the financial outcomes of the organization. So there is a huge literature on how diversity is linked to the very successful companies, and we shall explore them as we move ahead. Anyone else wants to give any example of diversity they might have come across? So maybe in your team groups also, as you have been working with a specific team for the 2 semesters, you may have come across, first of all, you may have met them as completely new faces, but as you got to work with them for a longer period of time, you may have come across their certain traits, either because of the place they are coming from or the cultural background or their history, that they bring with themselves certain abilities that can be used for the betterment of the team or the output. So we will be talking about that also in detail going forward. So again and again, I'm saying that diversity is important because ultimately, we as humans, although we are a homogeneous group, but we are very, very different from each other. And that difference is to be not only acknowledged, but it has to be celebrated. because every individual brings with themselves certain specific traits which can be put to a greater use if recognized. And that is why, and inherently as humans, our need is to be respected and to be valued and also to be loved. So inherently in our hearts of hearts, all of us desire that, irrespective of we get it from someone who is younger than us or elder than us, irrespective of the age group we belong to, our inherent need as human is always to be valued and treated fairly. And that is why it is incumbent upon us to value and treat others, and that is where diversity becomes important. Because in any organization in which diversity is valued, it means that in that organization, people are valued irrespective of any of these categories they belong to. So that means people belonging to, any of these categories, and they may form a minority group or they may not be part of majority, they are respected, they are valued, and they are not at the receiving end just because they belong to a category which might not be prevalent or in the majority. Now, this is highly theoretical. You might all be thinking that diversity is a highly theoretical concept, but it is often used in companies in a practical manner to improve the production and financial status and also the productivity of the organization as a whole. So organizations throughout the globe have been working rigorously to improve the diversity in their organizations, even in academic organizations, especially in STEM fields. Whenever there is positions opening for research scholars or research associates, they specifically mention that women are invited so that they can increase the diversity quotient of their universities. So recognizing diversity is important because when you recognize diversity, you recognize people and you believe that they bring with themselves some ability to create value. So imagine a situation in which everyone thinks exactly the same, if not very different. Then that would not be a very happy situation because the possibility of growth will be highly limited in a non-diverse population. And that is one thing, that there are advantages to diversity as well, and there are gross disadvantages if diversity is not acknowledged. And in this course of entrepreneurship, even though we need to know our project and how we are going to deal with it and the people we are going to meet, it is equally important that when we are managing our organization on our team, we are mindful that opportunities are not restricted to specific groups, that we value diversity and we are open to people working with us irrespective of anything else. And that is why recognizing diversity becomes increasingly important. Now, this is a study conducted by Boston Consultancy Group. For those of you who want to do MBA later on, BCG is one of the companies you would be aspiring for. So they did a survey in 2017, taking 1,681 people, and this is what they found out. So have a good look at this plot and let me know your views. What do you deduce it from looking at this plot? So is the diagram visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So I would like to know what you guys think of when you look at this.
Ma'am,
Yes, yes.
as I see, maybe the diversity score is how much means diversification is in that company, means how different type of peoples are there. And with the diversity score having above average, there are about 45% means innovation revenue that companies reported. as we can conclude that more the diversity there, more the ideas, or maybe the more the development, and hence they got the higher revenue. Whereas on the below, there's on below average diversity scores, we see that 26% average innovation revenue that is reported by the companies, means there is less development or progress, we can say.
Right. Thank you, Vishal. Anyone else wants to add something? So basically, in organizations, they measure diversity in certain manners. The most important criteria in which they measure diversity is the women. So proportion of women employees in the organization. That is one of the criteria. Then other criteria that comes up is ethnicity. So how different are people belonging to different ethnicities and how they are represented in the organization. So by that, they create some diversity scores, and BCG found out that the degree of innovation in companies was positively correlated with the diversity scores. And higher the diversity score, higher was the amount of revenue generated from the innovation in these companies. But this is the stats side of things. So, okay, we now know that, okay, good diversity scores result in good innovation revenues. But why do you think the reason behind this finding is? What do you think could be the cause of this observation? What can explain this result? What do you think could be the reason behind this finding?
Diversity includes people from different domains, so everyone would have their own thinking about the same concept.
Yeah.
So
So,
it gets mixed with different ideas from other people, and it's from a beautiful creation.
right. So, very well explained. The thing is that different people, as we know, as we saw in our first lecture in negotiation about perception, people are different and different people have different perceptions. They might look at same thing. N number of people might look at same thing, and chances are that not all of them will look at it the same manner. And similarly, when it comes to ideations and brainstorming, so for example, when you will be joining software organizations after your graduation, one of the most crucial tasks you will be involved in would be discussing in a team or brainstorming over an idea. And in that, you will notice that, people think very differently, and the way they think is usually influenced from where they're coming from. And that is why diversity becomes, it's almost comes to life when you are working in a team, and then you can see that, okay, even though immediately we may not like people or their ideas immediately, but as we work with them for some time, we gradually begin to appreciate diversity more and more. So there are certain studies also in the business world which have shown that diversity is not just a theoretical concept, but when it is actually implemented in practical manner, it can actually ring good bells for any company. So these are just few of the research snippets that I have put for you. And I just want you to have a good look at them. So most of the times, as you can see in the first one, that women who were leading the board and belonging to those companies, they have outperformed their peer group with no women on board by 26%. That's almost 1/4 in the last 6 years. The next research at Tufts University says that diverse groups perform better than homogeneous groups when it comes to decision making, and that is due largely to dramatic differences in the way people behave. Even in your assignments, like innovation and entrepreneurship assignments, I have noticed a very subtle thing that although there are only 8 girls in the class, but few of the groups which have girls, I could see a bit of, thinking that led me believe that, okay, here something different is happening. Not to say that I did not see that in the homogeneous groups, but I could see sometimes certain differences just because a woman was in the team, and those differences were visible mostly maybe in the thought process or in the way the reports were organized in certain cases. Anyway, a research in Scientific American, which is a very good magazine if you're interested in all the scientific things that are happening around the world, it looked at 1.5 million academic papers and found that papers written by diverse groups receive more citations and had higher impact factors. Now, you may not know what are citations or impact factors, but let me give you an overview. So whenever you are involved in writing a research paper, or you may have come across a research paper is basically a finding by researchers that they need to publish it. So after publishing it, how many people refer to their work? That is called as citation. So higher the number of citation of a particular research, higher becomes the impact of that work. And similarly for the impact factor. So every paper has an impact factor, and higher the impact factor, the more value it has created in the scientific circles. So this particular study found out that papers written by diverse groups receive more citations. Again, it boils down to how they may have been thinking or working together in the group. Last study by McKinsey report in 2015 stated that companies in top quartile for both racial and ethnic diversity are 35% more likely to have financial returns that exceed national industry medians. So all these studies basically indicate that diversity is not only good for the overall spectrum of people in an organization, but it actually has commercial dividends. It is actually helping a company improve further. And that is why companies all over the world have made a conscious effort to look at their diversity scores and diversity quotients. So generally the HR department in companies or organizations is involved in looking into all these aspects. And that is why we also, as we start our own journey, for example, in entrepreneurship, you must be cautious about all these things. So there are on the surface three kinds of or types of diversity: surface level, deep level, and hidden diversity. So surface level, as it's clear, it is something that is visible, that is tangible, that you can see. It could be diversity based on age, body size, visible disabilities, race, or gender or sex. Deep level diversity involves characteristics that are non-observable, like attitudes, values, ideologies, and beliefs. So deep down, we all know that even we differ in our political ideologies and beliefs. So our political opinions are also quite diverse. So we may be same in surface level diversity, but we may have subtle differences in deep level diversity. And these two might be same, or we may have third level of diversity, which is called as hidden diversity, in which diversity characteristic states that, they are concealed in certain manner. They are revealed at discretion by individuals who possess them, such as, so these are usually, the topics of diversity which people may not feel comfortable expressing. And that is why this is called as hidden diversity. And but the thing is, it's no longer hidden, I feel, because there are lots of news in both international and national scales which have made it amply clear that people belonging to certain sexual orientations, or even people who have certain mental health disorders, they may be treated unfairly in their organizations, and these issues are coming up. In fact, in some of the organizations that I have worked, I myself have come across people who have been treated differently because of hidden diversities. And that is why, being aware and sensitive to these issues is important, because we may not be belonging to people who might be in the minority or maybe sidelined, but it may be happening to our colleague, it may be happening to our siblings, and as part of the society and as even the founders of the organizations, as you are for your innovation projects, it's extremely important that you are mindful of these things, that you learn to value and appreciate what people bring on the table, irrespective of their differences. And this is the single most important ability and character value that will ensure that you continue meeting your success as you go forward in your organization or anywhere you are. And that is why we have to know about diversity and how it is compromised. So knowing about diversity is one thing, knowing and becoming mindful of how it is being compromised in real world is altogether a different ball game. And that is where, we have to be very cautious in all these kind of things. And as our world is getting more and more industrialized and aware, these kind of topics are really burning issues. I'm not sure if you have come across the article inside the echo chambers of Google, wherein the Google software engineer had accused Google of talking about diversity, but internally it believes in certain differences which are inherent due to biological reasons. So the debate on diversity is very ripe, and right from the very beginning. Now, after today's lecture, when you move back into your life, you will be more observant of how these differences play out in our around world. So diversity is often linked with one word, inclusion, and sometimes people use them interchangeably, but it is important to know the difference between diversity and inclusion. So inclusion, very simply, is the way to expand diversity. It's the practice of ensuring that people feel a sense of belonging and support from the organization. They should feel included in the organization. The organization should be inclusive to the needs of people. Let me give you a very, very simple example. Are you guys following?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So let me give you a very simple example. In India, you may not come across inclusion very much. So let me give you a very simple example, which I myself recognized quite late in my life. Let's imagine there is a park, and that park has an entry door, which is like a revolving kind of door. Are you familiar with those revolving kind of doors, which has 4 sections and it has to rotate? So,
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now think of a wheelchair bound person. Okay. Now for that particular person who is wheelchair bound, he or she would like to go into the park and relax and enjoy nature for some time. But because of the first level barrier at the entry of the garden, they may not find it feasible to enter into that park. That means that that particular garden is not inclusive to the people who have different physical demands. That is how inclusion is not well thought after. Let's look at the second example for all these people. Like, and this was something that I had mentioned even to our director sir in my previous organization. So suppose there is an auditorium and there is a stage, and someone who is receiving an award is wheelchair bound, and in front of the stage there are only stairs. So how does that person go onto the stage? The response was that they can come from the back door, but then it altogether defeats the purpose of acknowledging that person. So these are very subtle things that we are not educated about, sadly, as we grow up. And we often do not pay attention to these things because as part of normative society, nothing is wrong with us and almost everything looks fine, at least at the surface, and no deep level things are there. So we as humans become sort of blind to inclusion because we are already are part of that clique wherein we are feeling included. But if you ever come across someone or even your friend who tell their stories of where they did not feel included, then you might learn to appreciate the importance of diversity and inclusion. So for a society to be really healthy, it has to be an inclusive society, and same goes for an organization. Otherwise, it will be a very fanatic kind of organizations. And like for example, Russia. In Russia, people do not have so much of freedom of speech, and they are not very inclusive about all that kind of thing. And that is why all kinds of funny things are happening in Russia. So inclusion is a way to achieve diversity, and most people use them interchangeably, but there are extremely subtle differences. Diversity refers to the traits and characteristics that make people unique, whereas inclusion refers to behaviors and social norms that ensure people feel welcome. And there are ample examples that we can cite in Indian as well as foreign scenarios wherein inclusivity is a problem. For example, in United States of America, African Americans and Hispanics do not really feel inclusive at certain, situations. During COVID times, people who are belonging to China started feeling suddenly strange in foreign countries. They were no longer feeling inclusive and welcome. And there was a sort of threat associated with not only Chinese but people from Southeast South Asian origins. So, and inclusion and diversity is highly contextual also. It's event based, as we saw in the pandemic times. But they are not just theoretical concepts, they are implemented widely. However, implementation is not always successful, and there are certain barriers to diversity as well. So, to be able to ensure that an organization can be diverse, we have to look at the barriers to diversity. Okay, so what can stop diversity from taking place, its root in an organization or in workplace? So these are the few barriers to diversity. Insensitivity. So insensitivity to people who are belonging to certain minority categories could be a barrier to diversity. For example, the garden example that I provided you, it showed an insensitivity towards people who are who are having some physical disabilities, and that is why that park may not be that diverse because of the first barrier that people are facing. Lack of inclusion is also a diversity barrier, because if you do not include people, that will ultimately put a huge barrier and will be detrimental to diversity. Microaggressions. There are certain kind of aggressions which are not very explicit, but they are very much prevalent in the implicit manner. So that's why they are called as microaggressions, and they are barriers to diversity. So for example, and it happens most commonly when you will be filling some forms in future for your higher education. Maybe most people are asked their ethnicity, and even sexual orientation, even gender, and all these kind of things. And sometimes academic communities may use those factors also in making certain decisions, depending on the kind of workplace they are and what kind of people they are willing to welcome and what kind of people they are not willing to welcome. All these kind of things happen. Another barrier to diversity is resistance to change. Resistance uh, can play a very huge impact on diversity. So if the power in authority in the organization, if you as the founders of your own groups are resistant to including particular individuals in your team just because of certain differences, surface level, hidden, or deep level, then you're automatically thwarting the possibility of a diverse workplace and hence the advantages that come up with it. Sometimes people are not aware of diversity, and that is why training them in diversity and its importance is vital, such as you are trying to gain something about diversity from today's lecture. in your future dealings, you may be more cautious about all these things and make lesser mistakes than you would have done if you were not aware of diversity. As humans, we also have certain amount of cognitive biases, you know, our own stereotypical thinking. We may project ourselves as objective and unbiased and scientific and rational and linear, but even deep down, all of us have certain beliefs and ideologies in our unconscious mind which drive our behavior in the conscious mind. And they are called as cognitive biases. And especially when we are in the position of decision making and we have those biases, and our decisions play an important role in who is included, who is not included, that directly impacts the diversity of the place we belong to. Homophily, poor communication, and informal mentoring are also barriers to diversity. Informal mentoring, I would explain to you, is that, for example, in organizations, people, especially elder people or people in the position of authority, they might feel a kind of solidarity with someone specifically because they feel connected to that person due to some reason, and they might start informally mentoring them at the cost of others, and this might create their own group or own clique, and it will be difficult for others to penetrate into that group, and that sort of informal mentoring also is a barrier to diversity. So basically, the tendency of individuals to associate with others who are similar to them, often called as groupism, is also a barrier to diversity. So as important is it to know what diversity is, why it is important. Diversity can be cultivated only when we know that what is stopping it from cultivated at the first place. So I always tell my MTech students that you become good researchers not so much by learning about what good research is, but by learning about what bad research is. Because when you know what bad research practices are, you will not do them. And similarly, it comes to diversity, that it's important to know about diversity, but we must ask ourselves what are the barriers to it so that we can be instrumental in, at least if not eliminating them, identifying them, voicing about them, and standing for those who sort of find themselves isolated in that kind of situation. And so most of the times when we talk about running companies, ideas, ideations, creating prototypes, coding and everything, these kind of things may not surface. But in the long term, it's almost always confirmed that these kind of things will determine the success of any project or any organization that you are leading. And that is why right at the fundamental stage, as much important it is to know about the management of things, the technology side of things, the human psychology, it's also important to know about these kind of things. So as I said, our world, the world we live in is not very black and white. Things happen under the radar which are difficult to detect. So in organizations, since you are 18-year-olds, 4 years later, if you join an organization, there are certain practices that you may come across, but you may not feel something wrong with them because they are done in certain manner. So here I give you 2 examples of discrimination. So for example, some assignments can set up you for promotion, glamour work, and certain kind of assignments are office work. So sometimes people deliberately give glamour work to people they want to succeed, and sometimes office work for those who they do not want to get promoted. And this happens in workplace. It's a direct threat to diversity, because some of the people are not getting opportunity to succeed. And this is a very subtle kind of thing that even managers might not be doing it consciously, but it just happens. And this sort of creates an imbalance in their diversity, and they have to fix this by making progress on the corporate diversity goals. The second example would be that employees who differ from most of their colleagues in, say, religion, gender, socioeconomic background, sexual orientation, and generation often hide important parts of themselves at work for fear of negative consequences. So in business world, what happens is, you come across people, you talk to them. When you first talk to them, you're talking business, you're talking work. When you get to know them in a deeper manner, you realize that they are no different from you. They have the same desires, same fears, and same disappointments that you may have had in your life. And they may be hiding some aspects of themselves. So this is the hidden level diversity for the fear of backlash from the organization. So I remember I had a friend who had a bipolar disorder, and whenever she used to come in the office, she used to feel something wrong, she would come and talk to me, and then I would understand, okay, that maybe this is during that time that she is not feeling well. But one time what happened was that it actually came out in the team, and it was not received very well in the team members because they themselves were not very educated on all these kind of things. And I hope you won't make the same mistakes. And it's not to say that those people were bad, but they were ignorant about all these things. Maybe because our education does not prepare us for all these kind of real life scenarios which we may meet when we become professionals. And that is why recognizing the differences and celebrating them is important for the diversity of the organization. So when you are heading up any organization, team, or project, it is extremely important that you know your employees really well, you know your team members, and you make them feel included in the group and not just reduce them as people who are doing some kind of work. Because at the end of the day, they are investing their time and resources in your organization, and you have to make them feel valued. And that is why I'd ask a question in your quiz that if two employees are constantly in conflict, how do you as a manager make amends between the two of them? So these are just two examples of discrimination. And I understand all this looks very theoretical to you, but in future when you come across someone, or even in present you may have come across someone with whom you can relate all this to it, I'm sure this makes a lot more sense and will continue to make a lot more sense as you go forward in your professional journeys. So for a moment, let me ask you a question. So let's say there are two candidates for an accountant position. One of them is very sociable, talkative and funny. The other is timid, never looks you in the eyes, and doesn't understand irony. And you are the hiring person. So which one of them would you hire and why?
I'm the first one.
Okay, so is the first one question mark or the first one full stop?
The first one, full stop.
Okay, so tell me the reason.
Because it's more sociable and talkative.
So what does that imply?
That is able to, or he or she is able to gel up with other people. We can.
So that's your first impression of that person,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
if I just want to my works completed, then I will go for the second one.
Okay. Why?
Because as he is timid and means doesn't understand irony and never looks in eyes, the most probable condition of his thinking is that he is not too logical and doesn't use to be put his views. And the other thing that I want means, as I am I want just a person for accountant position, so most probably he is not sociable and talkative. He will just work and want his salary, nothing more than that. And the thing that I also want is the same thing,
Okay.
my work to be
Okay.
completed.
Right. So both of you, I mean, and I'm sure the others also, like we tend to base our judgments and opinions and perceptions on the first impression, and there's nothing wrong with it, because as humans maybe we are hardwired to detect certain kind of energies through behavior and make our decision. But at the same level, we should always keep in mind that there is a lot more behind the curtain that is not yet visible to us, and that is why decision making may not be very easy in such kind of situation. And note that the position is for an accountant. So most probably, as much as their accountancy skills are important, their other social skills are also important. And trust me, I met both these kind of people in my life, and many people, and I have always been stumped. Like person who was sociable, talkative, and funny turned out to be irresponsible in the long term. The person who was timid and never looked at in your eyes, in the long term, they may have come across as highly dominant and in a stronger position in certain manner. And so people evolve and transform over a period of time, and so that should give us not a reason for apprehension, but for this, let's say respect for this fact that people change over the period of time, and what we can do is be adaptive and flexible in how we handle them. So this small activity was just a sort of a trailer of a movie that I would want you to watch over the weekend. So from the movie Accountant. So in that kind of situation, I think diversity is very well explained. And if you watch that movie, it could be really helpful to you to provide a perspective. And I know after every week I tell you book recommendations, and this time I've come up with some movie recommendations for diversity. So maybe these three are some movies that you might like to watch to understand what is diversity in a much more better manner. And lastly, so we are just left, so that was about diversity. And lastly, as we come to the end of your assessment also, I think only 5 marks are left for the assessment. This last assessment I'm not going to assess, you are going to assess. So this is something called as peer assessment. So from my studies on e-assessments that I've been doing, I've come to realize that peer assessment is also helpful to engage student-student interaction. And if you read about others' work and evaluate them on the right matrix, you may learn something about their ideas and how to assess, which is an important skill. So in this last one, I think it's a group assignment. I want you to reflect back on this lecture on diversity and inclusion and go back to the time when you started freshly in your innovation group as newbies to each other, and how you gradually woke up to these abilities of your team members as you work for 2 semesters with them. How did you recognize their abilities? What different they brought in the team, and how you used them for the advantage of your group performance. So basically, how you use the diversity in your group in both the innovation and entrepreneurship journey and to the betterment of your group project. So that is something I want you to think about, because I know starting off you may not have known certain good abilities of your team members initially, and then gradually each of you woke up to those kind of abilities. Ultimately your team, you realize, is a diverse team. I want you to reflect on that and write about it. The second thing is, I would like to know an example of an internal conflict within a team, what that conflict was, how did you resolve that conflict in your team. And third is, in your innovation and entrepreneurship, like the 2 semesters that you have studied, work together in group and also individually, what is it that you have learned as a team through this experience? So from each group, I have requested this, and then after the submission deadline, I will randomly assign these group level essays to other groups, and each group will assess the essay of other group, give some comments and review just like I do, and then we will take it forward from there. Is that okay with all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is something called as peer assessment. If you were in physically in the college, we would call it peer-to-peer learning, and that is also a very important part of increasing student exchange and engagement. But So here is a slight trick that I know you guys may end up negotiating with with your group pairings. If we are willing to give you 4.5, you also give us 4.5. So that should not happen. So that is why I'll randomly take one day, which I will inform you, and in that 1 hour, I will distribute the essays that I will receive after the deadline, and within 1 hour, each group will be expected to finish the assessment and submit it back. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So with this, I think all your assessments will be complete. And I know I have made you work very hard to earn a single credit for this course. But I think it was very well intentioned to not only impart knowledge, but to impart skill to all of you. In the next 2 lectures, we will be learning about people analytics and how to correspond with business world. And I will assign few of the activities. They will not be marked, but they will be certain game type of activities that will help you to learn also at the same time, but there will not be any marks attached to it. So that is the plan. So we have 2 more lectures, so 2 more weeks to go. And hopefully by that time I will be able to finish your assessments as well. And I know you have asked for extension of the competitive analysis deadline. So immediately after the class, I'll launch a poll. Depending on the results and the proportion of students who want extension, I will decide the number of days for extension. So does that make sense to you?
Okay, ma'am.
All right. So that was about diversity and inclusion in today's lecture. And I hope you will have much more cautious eyes now dealing with the real world and understanding the importance of diversity at the same time and keeping it in the same box as technology and management, if not at the same level. So thank you so much for your time.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, yes,
Ma'am, I have a question.
please.
Ma'am, yesterday, means I seen a movie that is The Founder about the McDonald's.
Yes, Ray Kroc.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, in that movie, that the guy that take up the real McDonald founders,
Yeah, yeah.
there seems to be, means at one point, although he uses mind and all his work, definitely, but at one point he cheated with them
Okay.
about so I just want to ask that, ma'am, usually as I see same happens with the Steve Jobs at one point with the Microsoft, Bill Gates. Same thing happens here also, and even somehow Steve Jobs come up, but that they mean the guys, they definitely just uh, nobody knows where they went, means it's totally like they just finished off. So ma'am, I want to ask, like, sharing these ideas with the others makes the things critical, because he also shared his secrets somehow and let him use his, means giving him too much free things to do, so he just take off his company. That type of the cheatings usually seems to me like we can cheat others and take his companies by your mind, and then we can flourish. Then this type of thing usually happens, ma'am. I want your views about this.
Okay. So cheat is a very strong word and it is commonly associated in the business world. But at the same time, you must also, I'm not saying what Ray Kroc done was right or wrong, but all I'm saying is that McDonald's would not have been what it is today had it been with the Ronald brothers, because it was Ray Kroc at the age of 52 who initiated the franchisee system, and he actually proposed this idea to the brothers also, but they were actually rigid and resistant in their stand. So, and what we see in the movies or what we read in the book, so Ray Kroc has his own autobiography also. You must read that also. There are larger details written in that book. So, it is really very difficult to comment upon things in which you are not that involved. And cheating or using certain knowledge for your advantage. It's not a new thing and we should not be surprised, but yes, we should be cautious about with whom we are sharing our ideas, and that is why that trust and loyalty is extremely important.
Ma'am, means according to me, definitely we can use our mind and use the loopholes in the system.
Yeah.
But at least that usage shouldn't harm the others, shouldn't
Yes.
finish of them.
Yes. So that again comes to the integrity of that person who is involved. We cannot expect others to behave in that manner. But ultimately, if you were to be the Ray Kroc in that movie, you might have handled situation in a different manner. So ultimately, trust is the most important bedrock of mergers and accusations, and that is something that we have to be very cautious about. So yes, ideas get stolen all the time, even in India, even in abroad, like even in academic circle, they get sometimes done in a very funny manner. So what we can do is that we have to fall many times to actually learn all these kind of lessons. And that happens. So the best thing we can do is that be cautious with whom we are extending our hand to, and at the same time uh, being mentally prepared that not everything goes as we desire it to go. So I think that's the best response that I can give to you at the moment.
Okay, ma'am.
Any other question?
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So thank you for your time, and do watch the movies that I suggested and try to get something about diversity from that.